Kia ora and welcome to an introduction to exponential graphs. So on the right here, I've got a graph of an exponential graph here. It is kind of like having a very rapidly growing something. Okay? Now it's important to know that at some point it looks like it is equal to 0, but it's not. Okay? So 0 on a basic graph is a asymptote. Okay, so the x-axis would be an asymptote on a basic graph. It means it gets closer and closer to, but never touches. Okay, and another important thing to note is that we've got it passes through the y-axis at 1. Now this is because the basic equation of a exponential graph is some number to the power of x. So as you can tell by my equation in the bottom left hand corner here, my base number is 2. Anything to the power of 0, when x is equal to 0, the power will be equal to 0. So here, anything to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. Okay, it's kind of like saying, it's because when you look at the surds, it ends up being something like 1 divided by 1 or 2 divided by 2. It's your base number divided by itself. Any number divided by itself is going to equal 1. So that is why on our base equation, it will be passing through the y-axis at 1. Okay. So as you can see, it grows very rapidly. Now, to be a bit more complicated in this, if it's a negative graph, then it will go downwards. Okay, so I can change that at some point. So instead of curving up, it will curve down further into the negatives. Now, to the power of x, it could always be to the power of x plus something or x minus something. And very much like in parabolas, we can end up translating these. So let's see what happens when I start subtracting something from x in the power section. Okay, now what's happening to the graph on the right? That's right. As I increase the number that I'm subtracting, it goes further to the right, so it becomes more positive. Now if I reverse that and then I start to move it towards the positives, then you'll notice that x plus something is going to move my graph to the left. So here I've got x plus 5. If I zoom in a bit, you will notice that where on a basic equation the graph crosses through the y-axis at 1, it is now at -5. Okay? So very much like in a parabola, adding or subtracting something from x is going to shift our graph horizontally. Oh dear. Just trying to zero this. Okay, now similarly, on a parabola, where we increase a constant value or decrease a constant value, it shifts our graph up and down. We can do the same thing on our exponential. So here, if I just add the c value on, here I've added 1, and you'll notice that on the y-axis, where it goes through 1 on a basic exponential graph, it has now gone up to 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2. And here our equation is 2x plus 1. Okay, so the patterns with how things move are very similar to a parabola. And just so that you can see this visually without me saying anything, I'll just play this. See, it's increasing. Constant value is decreasing. Okay, thanks for watching. Ka kite.